November 11th, I got everything out of my house. It's 18 boxes. It is the most variety of things you've ever seen. Some of it is hub gear, whiteboards, gloves. A lot of it is outreach and giveaways. I found a bag of car chargers that are branded emergency preparedness. Good things to give away at raffles at some of your events. Lots of things that can be used at hubs, like folders for archiving materials. It is just such a ton of stuff. So you will not go away empty-handed. And I heard other people say, can I bring some stuff? So I'll try and have a couple of tables set up if you want to do one of these swap-aroos. But I really would like all this stuff to disappear, because
Cindy and I put together this list just kind of by going through the Google Drive. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Google Drive. For those of you who are familiar with Google and all things, Drive related, this is going to be really boring. But for those that aren't super comfortable with the idea of Google Drives or Drives anywhere, it might be helpful to show you how to find stuff. So this is a big list of tools that we have created, all the hub captains that came before us, tools that we created to help make the job more interesting or more efficient. Go ahead, Cindy. So the first part of this is Google Drives, and then we'll get into the tools. So we just really want you to know what's out there and how to find it. So hopefully you saw the list of tools. If you want to print that and then circle or highlight the ones that you think might be interesting to you in your neighborhood, I think that would be a smart way to go. So first is the Google Drive. There are 17 folders in the Google Drive. There's a list of them. That's not what we're going to look at. Next slide. When you open the Google Drive, and you'll see at the top of the screen for my computer, it says drive.google.com. If you open that up on the left-hand side, you should see, I didn't highlight, Cindy, sorry. On the left-hand side, you'll see shared with me.
Right here.
And that's where, when you become a hub captain, Cindy puts you on a list, you get on the mailing list, but you also get access to the hub captain Google Drive. So it is shared with you. The left-hand side, shared with me. These are Google Drives that are shared with you. Hub Captain 1 is just one. You may have other organizations you work with that also use Google. So shared with me, and then you're going to look for the Hub Captain Drive, and then go to the next slide, Cindy. Or the next, there we go. This is how I find stuff. I know what it's called, or I know approximately what it's called, what it is I'm looking for. So I always search in the drive to find what it is I'm looking for, instead of drilling down through the different folders to try and find things, because I think it just takes too much brain power for me. So search in Drive is really good. That's where you go to search for a drive, type in what you think it might be called. Next slide, Cindy. If you kind of know the name, you can find it. I want to show you how to find things on the Google Drive, even if you don't know where it's located or don't even know much about the name. So we are looking at my screen. I went to the Google Drive, other Google Drives that are shared with me. One of those is called Hub Captain Documents, which is where all the hub stuff is. It is the large filing cabinet for the hub. Down here, you'll see the 17 folders I was talking about in the video. And buried in those 17 folders is all the information you want. The stuff down here at the very bottom is the most current and probably the most used information. Here's the 2023 map of all the hubs. This is the master list of the hubs. Who has large laminated maps? And this last file is just who has the other gear that we tried to hand out. The A-frames, the ICS 213. So say you want tips. You want to start a little newsletter, send information out to your mailing list, however. And you don't know what it's called. Is it emergency preparedness tips? Is it educating neighbors? What's it called? You just know the word tips is in it. So I typed in tips. Preparedness tips is the top one. Usually the one on top is the one you want. Here's what's in that folder called preparedness tips. There's prep steps. These are things I've put together.
by month, and then I'm going to show you how to back up. So I'm currently in the folder called Prep Steps. I want to back up to Preparedness Tips. There's the Prep Steps I was at. And here's another great document. Wedgwood Hub recently shared this with us, that you can easily send out to your mailing list. You could crop it by date and send that out. I'm going to close this down. Again, I found it just by typing in tips, usually picking the first one. I'm also going to type in, let's say, ham huddle. Top one, ham huddle. All the documentation. Let's look at job descriptions. A couple different iterations there. Let me think of something else. Brochure. Yeah, brochure. Brochures that are translated. Madison Valley customized their brochure. The actual brochure is the trifold is right here. You could print it on a half sheet, which takes less paper if you're interested in that. And like I said up here, these are all the translated ones, so different languages. Just by typing in brochure, I found what I needed.
Are there any questions about Google Drive, how to find what you want?
And you have 17 folders. Do they correlate in some way?
No, they do not. We had to categorize them for a different project. And they made sense to us that way, even more so than they are kind of in the folders. They're probably pretty close, but they're not exact.
But you could type in something from this tool that we print out, and you're likely to find something in the folder corresponding to that.
Yeah. The names in the paper, the one pager that we gave you, those names are current. So if you take that name and type it under search in Drive, you should go straight to what we're talking about here.
Got it. Thank you.
So these are the categories on the list of paper we gave you. We're just going to go through each of these and highlight some of the tools that you might be interested in. Again, this deep dive is really just to let you know what all is available out there and how you can maybe engage your volunteers. So educating neighbors. Keep going. Camping hacks. There's a picture of those. We've had a couple iterations. They are, let's see, there's 5 on a page. So they're about the size of a business card. They're printed on both sides. And you can just hand these out at skills fairs or whatever. They're just interesting little things that they're kind of, they're camping hacks. They make life simpler when you don't have everything you need. Out of area contact cards. So these are business card size, really easy to print, especially if you have business card papers that are, perforated. This is what the front side looks back, and then you can customize the back. Go ahead, Cindy. Well, anyway, you can customize the back. Super easy to do. If you can't do it, I'm happy to do it for you. And you can put your own hub information on there. And no, I take that back. I lied. On the back of that out of area card is a description of how an out of area contact helps you after a disaster, helps you contact family and friends here on the ground. So a little hard to customize for you. Preparedness tips, we talked a little bit about that. Urban Survival Skills Fair, all the gear, all the talking points and all that kind of stuff is there. For the most part, it's the most up to date. I'm not the best about, I'm constantly changing and improving stuff on my end. And I'm not, as Cindy knows, I'm not great about always putting it in the Google Drive. So honestly,
it's the latest version.
yeah. It's probably easiest to just work with me or work with Cindy for a skills fair, and we'll make sure you get the most up-to-date materials. Go ahead, Cindy. And then actual gear. This is just letting you know stuff that we have. These are Hub 1.0 and 2.0. These are Excel spreadsheets that list the gear that will fit inside this smaller box, the 4-foot, or the larger box, the 5-foot box, and links to order them. You can, it just gives you a general idea of how much this stuff costs and where to go get it if you need to replace yours, if you've got money and you're buying new gear for your box, if you're starting from scratch and building a box. These are really good Excel spreadsheets. We do have Hub A-frames with signs. I think there's a picture there. Yeah, if you can see the arrow pointing into my box, that's what we're talking about. We have a few left between Cindy and I. We have a few of these A-frames with a hub sign on them. We don't have tons. Oh, let me back up just a second. One of the things that the Ballard hubs are thinking about doing, we haven't really got that far yet because they have not been awarded their grant yet. But if they get a grant, they want to take this same idea of a sign indicating that the hub is up and operating, only they want to do it in a thinner model, not an A-frame, but more like a yard sign. Just because it's skinnier and it would fit in the box easier. So that's coming, but that's 6 months down the road before we design that and have
And talk to
purchase
me about
information.
that. Talk to me about
Okay.
this.
Okay, cool. Sample memorandums of understanding, unless you're putting in a new hub, this isn't all that interesting, but go ahead, Cindy. It's the paperwork that you and your property owner sign, only if you're a private property. If you're on parks land, you don't have to do one of these. And then the category of hub operations, a quick start guide. So we have a general quick start guide, and then several of the more mature hubs have customized that quick start guide to say, in our box, in our hub location, this is what you do first. Like one of the things hopefully it's really clear in my quick start guide is when you get people gathered around the hub box, they want to pull out all the little stuff. And they want to start combing through the boxes, and they want to start pulling out manuals. And really what I wanted them to do was put the hardscape up first. So I made that really clear. Please don't touch the admin boxes. I don't want you pulling out staplers. I want you putting up canopies and tables and signs. So like I said, there is a general one that's applicable to everybody. And then there are examples of people that hubs that have made them more specific and included a blueprint. Maybe it's not the blueprint you go with at the end because maybe, fences aren't there and all that kind of stuff. But it's a nice to give somebody a place to start when you're opening up the box, saying, hey, put this table over there. So general and specific. Job descriptions, hopefully everybody on the call has those for all 12 of the hub roles. The education book, the final copy is in there in the Google Drive, and that should be in the hub box. The self-help posters, if for some reason you don't have one or you want to send it out to your community, there you go. That's what they look like. Weirdly, a lot of people want a copy of those self-help posters, which I always tell them, look, people, this is not information pre-disaster. This is when you haven't prepared. This is what you need to have. This isn't, yeah. So they think they're very pretty and they're very educational, which they are, but man, this doesn't help people prepare ahead of time. It just helps them keep safe afterwards. The universal communication card. Hopefully everybody has at least one of these, and I would suggest more than one. So this is the front side and the back side. We give these to neighbors that have trouble with communication, either because they're really stressed, they speak a different language, they are not able to speak, whatever it is. So hopefully you have those universal communication cards. And then the universal signs. And that's a picture of them. There are 7 of them. This helps our neighbors find spaces where information might be posted about that kind of information and the haves and needs, and they can be useful in lots of different areas in the hub. We also have, hopefully most everybody has a large laminated map of the city of Seattle, and then hopefully everybody on the call got a neighborhood map. And then ICS 213 carbonless forms. These are used with the radio systems only. So these ham radio or GMRS, it doesn't matter, but it's a very useful piece of paper to help you communicate efficiently when you're communicating across radio waves. Hopefully everybody on the call has or will have soon 2 plastic bags. The one on the right is we actually got twice the number we paid for, because the first time they printed them, and this was like Home Office Depot or somebody, first time they printed them, they didn't put numbers on them. So that was 10,000 copies that we didn't pay for. Those are the ones on the right. Those are to be used in an exercise. The ones on the left with the orange piece of paper that says pre-numbered copies used in true emergency only, if you can see in the top right corner of that form, there is a number, and the numbers are 0 to 10,000. So yeah, hopefully everybody has 2 sets of these forms. They are carbonless. So you do end up with 2 copies. One would stay with the radio operator. The other one would go to the hub so that they know what information needs to be posted or given to the hub manager or whatever. Anyway, so that's one of the things we have. Every hub has a radio designator. It is a 4-letter designator. That first one there, and they're just listed by alphabetical. That first one is if I was sending a message, if I was originating a message from the Alki Community Center, I would put in my message number ALKI. So everyone knew where that message originated from. So hopefully everybody has a list of those, and that list is in with your radio forms. They're in with the previous slide, those ICS 213s. We printed the list and put it in with those form numbers.
And everything that Ann just covered in the gear is stuff that we usually are able to give every hub as they start up. We're running out of a couple of things, and we're going to have to talk about that later on how to regenerate. And then the other process that Ann and I follow is every 2 years when we update the hub map, we make sure that we've got radio designator for the new hubs that have come in too. So
outreach materials. We have the hub trifold brochure in English, and then we have the hub brochure, a half sheet that's been translated into 8 of the top languages. And there's a visual of both of those. Hopefully you guys have seen that. And then there are several hubs that have created an insert for that hub brochure that's very unique to them, with a map of their hub, with their hub email address, all that kind of stuff. So that's in the Google Drive. You would type in hub brochure or hub brochure inserts, and those would pop up, and you can, download those and modify them to your heart's content. Network business cards, probably easiest if you just contact me about those. I don't know if I have a picture of them. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that's the front, and then the back is free. You can put your own stuff on the back of the card. So I can either give you the Avery.com for labels and that kind of stuff. I can give you the format and you can modify it, or just tell me what you want. I'm happy to do it. That's easy. All right. Online and printed map of hub locations. Hopefully you guys know about this. This is the printed map. This is 2023. Easy to print in the 11:17 format. And then Cindy and I each have the ability to laminate those. So if you need one of those, please yell and we'll make sure we get one to you. They're fun during outreach events.
yep, I keep a stash of them. This is the one thing that OEM does provide to us is I can call and say, give me 50 more because we've got outreach tables coming up. So
a disaster trivia guide. We did have an amazing hub captain, Erica, did a disaster trivia night, very successful. So she wrote down the whole procedure of how you find people and the questions and all that kind of stuff. So maybe as we go into the darker, the winter months in Seattle, an online or even an in-person disaster trivia would be kind of fun. Cindy's put together a lot of information on working with interpreters. And the next one is, how to reach out to the less well-off communities, how to reach the entire community, whether they speak different language, they have access and functional needs, whatever, everybody that lives in our neighborhood should have, and we should be reaching out as much as we can, as equitably as we can, to everybody that lives around us. So lots of tools to do that. We also have, I think there's 2 of them running around in the hubs. We have a wheel of misfortune. We have a list of questions. These wheels, because they're so colorful, and usually you're giving away candy when you're spinning the wheel and answering a question. They're really attractive to kids, not so much adults. But anyway, we list a list of questions for kids, and then Cindy put together an outreach suitcase which has everything you need in it: tablecloth, brochures, you know, paperweights, all that kind of stuff. So easily, you know, walk down and used. We have our logos. This is way before me. Cindy put together official logos with, you know, transparent backgrounds and all kinds of stuff. So if you ever need a logo for something, just go into the Google Drive, search in the Hub Captain's documents under logo, and one of these or several of these should pop up. Public service announcements. If you ever have a chance to do one of these, which I know they don't come up very often, but we have blurbs, and public service announcements are 30 to 45-second blurbs, which is really very few sentences. But we have these crafted already. And then, so if anybody ever wants to do a public service announcement, we have the ability to give you the blurb for that.
Or if you know someone who's doing podcasts, they're kind of handy little fillers in podcasts too.
Yeah. So either on or linked to the Hub Network website, we have the ability to give you a Hub specific website. So we've kind of gone through this recently. Not many people took me up on that offer to give them their own website. I think there's 2 or 3 since we offered that. But if you're interested in a very specific website of your own, sort of customizable, please just get in touch with Ann, and we'll figure out how to make that happen, and I'll show you the different options. All right, so the next grouping of tools are radio specific. We have a GMRS radio cheat sheet. So this is GMRS only. This was meant for GMRS, not ham. It's too techie for me. It is a double-sided laminated form. The picture on the left is the front. And it's really like, if you haven't picked up the radio in, a year, you could almost look at the front of this cheat sheet and figure out how to turn the radio on and a little bit about how to work it. So it's really simple stuff on the front. In the middle, when you open up this brochure, you're going to see channels to talk on the left and channels to listen to on the right. And if you ever do GMRS radio, any kind of training with us, we will go through this cheat sheet. So anyway, just want to let you know that this is available. Happy to send it to you, or literally go into the Google Drive and type GMRS cheat sheet, and this will come right up.
Remind me to talk about your class coming up. And I forgot.
Just do it now, Cindy. I don't remember the dates.
I remember the date. I'm not sure I remember the time. I think it's December the 3rd, noon to 2.
Okay. And it's at the University Library.
Right.
So we will go over a little bit about how GMRS radio works, how to use it in a disaster. And we will start from the point of there was a disaster, an earthquake usually. I go through how my partner and I will use the GMRS radio to talk to one another. And then we will go into how it's used in a hub. And we'll go through this whole cheat sheet so you understand what all these channels are and how to use the cheat sheet. And then we'll actually go outside and practice a little bit on the radio. So very hands-on. Hopefully it's really helpful. This is the second time at least that I've taught it. And I think it gets a little bit better and a little more condensed each time. So anyway, cheat sheet, super important for your GMRS radio operators. We have done videos for GMRS radio, so those are available. The Ham Huddle, which I mentioned earlier, which is under construction. We got a lot of really good feedback from a really strong hub, and we're trying to make it smarter and better and more useful for everybody. So Ham Huddle, under construction, but it's just the title that we used to help hubs find their ham radio operators in their neighborhood. So yeah, this is under construction, but I think it's going to be good because we all need to find our ham radio operators. And lastly is our special projects area. I Am Safe. Hopefully you all know what that project is. It is us in the impacted zone being able to contact family and friends out of the impacted zone just to let them know we're alive and we're okay. We, in studying other disasters, especially Alaska, they spent a lot of time and energy and manpower. It was really important to people, for folks in Alaska, to let people know in the lower 48 that they were okay. And so we took that idea and went, okay, this is important, obviously. Let's figure out how to do that in Seattle. So Cindy spearheaded the group with ham radio operators across the nation. It's really fascinating. So there's information about the I Am Safe messaging program. Cindy again did the pandemic guidance with a bunch of other hub captains and tried to figure out how to, if heaven forbid we go into another pandemic situation, how to set up the hub as safely as possible. And then sheltering guidelines. We know that folks are going to impromptu set up parking lot camps or they're going to set up Burning Man in the middle of parks, that kind of thing. So if we know that's going to happen, let's see if we can't help them do it smartly and put the food and the toileting at opposite ends of the camp and not next to each other. And one is downwind from the other, that kind of thing. So sheltering guidelines you can find on the
I don't know
Google
that I don't know that we got the park section done, but for sure mostly it's for churches who say, yeah, we can be a shelter, to make sure that when they open up, it can be a reasonably decent operation, as opposed to, oh, we forgot we don't have enough bathrooms for more than 10 people.
Last one, training for hub volunteers.
Got to be almost 40 slides.
Yeah. Okay. So we have recordings of hub meetings, deep dives, and hub 101s.
Going back for years.
And those are on the YouTube channel. Those are not on the Google Drive. Tabletop exercises, we will come to you for those. And if you want to do them yourself, we will give you the tools to conduct the exercises yourself. Drill guide. Oh, yeah, every time we do an exercise, especially the big summer ones, we record, we write down what we do in order to prepare for that, who we reach out to, how to write a drill exercise, how to get a hold of ACS and involve them. All that kind of stuff is recorded on the Google Drive. We do have a list of scenarios or injects that you can take and modify. I think they get better all the time. So you can make them very, very specific to your community, which frankly is so much fun. I've had so many comments from when I do an outreach event or a drill or something like that. When people hear streets in their community named out, they are really psyched. I was really impressed by the number of people that said, hey, that was very fun because you were talking about my neighborhood and not, Main Street, wherever. Psychological first aid for hub volunteers. We have a lot of information about that if you want to conduct your own or if you just want to review it with your hub volunteer team. Oh, Cindy's looking like, oh, don't do that.
Well, what we had certified people from the Red Cross teach it, because it is 4 hours of really intensive training. So it would be hard it's good for a review, but if there's enough interest, what we'd rather do is bring back the Red Cross or a volunteer who has taught psychological first aid and do it for you guys. We had a session where I think we must have had 50 or 60 people taking it. So
yeah.
And then COVID. I think that's the end.
I do, yeah. That's all I got.
I know one that we forgot, and it's probably because it's buried in the hub book, and that is the poster for debris removal. So when Seattle Public Utilities, we work with them to say, what happens if there's a bunch of debris in the street and people are trying to move debris so they can get in their houses? What do we tell people to do with it? So there's a poster somewhere in the hub book, I think, of how to lay out the debris so that SPU can just come by and whiz by and pick up and not pick up human waste in with the lumber, sort of stuff.
Dana, you look like you were going to say
Yeah,
something.
I have a question. I saw that on the Seattle Emergency Hub's website, there's a calendar with events like the JAMRS training. But do you guys have any kind of internal calendar for things that maybe aren't public, just like Hub Captain calendar, or is there any other just like where are these meetings, for instance, or is that just done in email?
They're
Does
on
that-
the calendar, but we don't put the link on the calendar.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
I'll check when I say that because I'm
Yeah,
supposed to update the
maybe they're not.
calendar.
They're not on a
Oh,
calendar.
the
Sorry.
They're not on the
defense-
calendar.
bus.
Yeah,
I
Our
just have to
bus.
add them manually every time I see it.
yeah. Because I enjoy this meeting, but I don't know when the next one is. So I was like, I should
Okay.
find out.
I'll make sure. What happens is every year I have to add the whole year's worth of stuff, and so I'll make sure we get that in there. I'm sorry about that.
Oh
But
no, that's fine. Just for
I'm not
planning.
going to put the garage sale on. That has been about the only exception I can think of, because I already had people going, "Can my neighbors come to your garage sale?" No.
So the next Hubcat meeting, it would be the fourth Thursday of the month. That's typically when we get together, but that happens to be Thanksgiving. So we are meeting on November 16th at 7 o'clock. And I want to call on Chris Paulus, who's from the North Capitol Hill. He just wants to wave his hand and say hi to everybody. It's his first meeting.
Yeah, I wanted to say, thank you for putting the meetings on YouTube because I've actually watched through a few of them. I'm working here in North Capitol Hill to try to help with some of their pieces and some of the outreach pieces. So I think you'll be hearing hopefully good things, but more from me in the future.
Do we have a meeting in December? I'm thinking we don't.
So nothing in
No.
December.
Maybe
Yeah, there it
kind of
is. You found it.
scripts if people say it, but I don't know that agenda pieces are attached to the individual meetings.
No, agendas wouldn't be, but if there are auto-generated subtitles like transcripts, then
Yeah.
Uh,
So that line under November 22 of fundraising, P-patch updates, welfare messages, Cindy or I put that in there. So if we're tagging it with the word you need, then you'll be able to find it.
It's somewhat related to what you're talking about, and it's somewhat just what's happening in our hub. I'm leaving at the end of this year, and in order to find someone to replace me, we've come up with the idea of what you just talked about is to create sort of job categories and find people to share these job categories so no single person is in charge of the job. And some time ago, Cindy had mentioned that, which has stuck with me, that you don't want one person who knows most everything and then they have to exit. And so you've left with just a big void and no information. So 3 people have kindly stepped forward from our group to fill that void, and 2 are here tonight. And I want you to meet them before you go. So one is Gordon Bradley. Gordon, can you wave? And one is
Hello.
Roger Rothman, and can he wave?
Yep.
And the third is Bev Leite, but she's out of town currently. But she's the person that's actually going to sit as the main lead at the Hubcap meetings in that whole division of labor we just talked about. So it'll be exciting to have some new perspectives and insights, and it'll be fun for them to join in. So thanks. I just wanted you to meet them.
Thank you, Louise, and thank you so much for all your contributions to us.
Oh, well, I wanted to
Strong
say
work.
that I have worked with many volunteer groups. I've never met a group with so much grit and resourcefulness. I mean, talk about resilience, holy Ned. So I just want to say you're all inspirational, and it's really something to see how people keep banging on the door and trying to get people to pay attention. That's inspiring. Thank you.